Join me in welcoming Anthony Nayagan. Hey, Anthony, how you doing today?
Very good, Steve. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so good to have you here with us. First off, tell us a little bit about you and how you show up in the world.
What is about me? Well, many people call me a mystique. Okay. Mystique is really someone who has realized the wisdom of God. Okay. Where his source intelligence is not his experience or not his human wisdom, but it is divine wisdom. That's really what the difference is. And you acquire divine wisdom. It's not acquiring, you evolve into it by way of intense spiritual practices and disciplines and that and this. Okay? Meditations. And there is a lot of things involved in acquiring such wisdom. Okay, so that is really the book that I wrote about, the first one and the second one, is a product of that kind of intelligence, that kind of source intelligence. That is how it evolved, if it makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And so now you've got a new book that you're working on,
Yes.
almost ready to come out. It's called Divine Engagement. Talk to us a little bit about what is divine engagement and what does that mean in our lives?
See, divine engagement, it really means participation with God in the activities of God and in our own activities. See, allow that kind of a passion to permeate everything we do, because we are doing it in the full awareness of the presence of God and the wisdom that we live in. Okay? That's really what it is. It is a concept that has been really, really age-old. I mean, in India, there is a lot of things that started a few thousand years ago and still very much in practice. See, for instance, I'll give you an example like the traditional medicine, Ayurveda. Ayurveda, they say it goes back to 5,000-6,000 years ago. Okay, the temples they build. See, the inspiration and the know-how, everything comes from mystical origins, meaning so much divine involvement in it. Their music is like that. Classical music is like that. Their dance is like that. Astrology, Vedic astrology, they call it, it's like that. Their philosophy is like that. So many things that are so entrenched in the Indian culture, it has mystical origins, or theistic activism. Okay, and it exists and it has been entrenched within the society as they live, and it has been in practice for a few thousand years ago. Now, the problem when we come to the Western world, you see, even the Eastern mystics who come to the Western world, they are only looking for low-hanging fruits. Some kind of an intellectual thing that is going to make them money. Okay, that's the whole idea of it. So they kind of promote mindfulness and yoga and all of that in a format that can people quickly understand, quickly grasp and benefit from. Is there something wrong with it? No, I don't say that. There is value in it. But the true essence of Eastern spirituality is not in these low-hanging fruits. the true essence of it is in how we live theistic activism in our own lives. How do we incorporate that? See, when we incorporate that, the magic that happens is everything we do, all of our endeavors, all of our outputs will have a few elements in it. Okay? Number one, it will have a divine intention purpose because it starts from mystical origins. It does not start from a material origin. Okay? Secondly, it would be full of passion and emotions. See, so when you look at them, it's like looking at a very beautiful piece of art. It's so much passion imbued in it, so much expression, so much emotions. That's how all of our outputs will be like. You know, when we incorporate active theism, or in my book, it's theistic activism, into everything we do. And the miracle of all of that, when we do, or when we engage in theistic activism in all of our enterprises, the difference is what we do will stand the test of time. See, on the other hand, what happens, the S&P 500 that was started in 1955, more than 90% of the companies are no longer in existence. That's very sad because everything we started had a material origin, therefore it had a material end, a beginning and an end. Okay? Bible says very clearly, anything that is born out of spirit will remain forever because it has spiritual origins. Anything that is born out of spirit, which is matter, will face death. Because it had a material beginning, it will have a material end. See, anything, in other words, theistic activism is not something that begins with a matter, something that is concrete, solid. Let's build on it. That's not how it begins. It begins with so much love, so much passion, so much emotions, and something so incredibly abstract that we can observe and bring what we observe through synthesis into something that is manifested. See, creativity, or any creation for that matter, it starts in an abstract origin. In other words, in an unmanifest origin. Okay? Then it goes through the process of becoming a manifested existence. See, for instance, let's look at a flower. Okay? And we see the flower, okay, it is beautiful, it's fragrant, it is very colorful, and we see how it is pleasing to our eyes and pleasing to our senses. Yeah, we go through all of that. Okay? But when we look at flower from a mystical origin, what the flower has that we don't see with our sensory eyes is life. It is that life that makes that flower so beautiful, so fragrant, so colorful, so enchanting. It is the life that is making it. You see, if without life, the flower is nothing. You see that? So the material beginning, as we see it, will have a material end. But the mystical beginning, which is the life in it, and that will touch our souls and it'll just go on forever, even after the flower is dead. You see, that is how it is, when we get involved in theistic activism. What we do will have a life in it. And that life is a life that is going to go on forever. because it had mystical origins. Okay, see, that is the difference between what we do here, that kind of has a life of its own and it begins and dies, compared to the Ayurveda and all of those beautiful things, that are still in existence for thousands of years in India. All of that had beautiful mystical origins. And we can innovate, and we can create, and we can come up with policy decisions and things like that could last a lifetime if we engage in theistic activism. See, this is the first time in the history of the world a mystic is coming forward to coach people, to teach people how to incorporate theistic activism in their creativity, in their innovation, and in their critical thinking, and in their policy making and all of that. First time ever happened. Whereas in India, then still is the same case. You go to a mystic and get his advice, get his guidance, get his direction. See, people actually don't practice theistic activism. They go to people who practice it. So the first time ever in the history of theistic activism, a mystic is coming forward, and I would train people who are inspired to create and to innovate and to think and make policies and all of that, engaging God as part of their creative, innovative process. First time ever. And I will not only train them, I will guide them, I will handhold them, I will take them all the way. See, that is really what my commitment is. And so this book actually is an introduction to theistic activism.
I absolutely love that. Well, Anthony, I really appreciate it. We're really looking forward to the book. With your permission, while we're still recording here, I'd like to jump off a little bit from what you were saying and give some people a little bit of insight into what the Bible actually is specifically saying about what you're saying. How would you feel about me doing that?
Absolutely, go ahead.
Yeah.
And I could add to it also if I can.
Yeah, absolutely.
Go ahead, say it.
So Hebrews chapter 13, verse 1 starts off, faith is the evidence. Faith is evidence. In other words, faith is the thing that you can use to prove something. Now let's think about that one for a second. So when you go to court, the things that you can use to prove things are the evidence. Those are the things that are real. Hebrews is telling us that our ability to be able to have faith is the ultimate evidence. Faith is the evidence of the things that we hope for. Hope is unreal and intangible, but when we add faith to it, then we have the evidence that can make those things. It becomes then the tangible. It says it is the substance of things not yet seen. It really is the core of, and we tend to take it the other way around, right? We tend to end up hoping, wishing, believing, working hard to do all those things, when in point of fact, actually, faith is the evidence. Faith is the place where it starts. And it's in that faith that then we have the proof, we have the structure, we have the foundation, we have the truly tangible that all of these other intangible things are based on. I'll give you a perfect example. When you fall in love with somebody, often there becomes the question of, well, how do you know? Okay. And you can't rip your heart out and hand it to somebody and say, see right here, there's a little love button. But it's the fact that that feeling, you have the faith in that, and that faith becomes that then tangible connection between your soul and the other soul of the other person that connects you in such a deeply, incredibly wonderful spiritual way that can't happen without that tangible, evidentiary faith that exists in there. And I love how Paul writes that. And he says it so simply, and then moves on. And yet there's so much just in that one verse. Faith is the evidence of things hoped for. It is the substance of the things that we cannot see. So we believe, and because we have the ability to put faith in the things that we believe, then is when reality truly begins to start, versus we see and then we can believe. You know, Jesus said to Thomas, "Blessed are those who have not seen and yet believe," versus those who need us to prove it to them. And I find a lot of comfort in that, especially these days, you know, because there's quite a bit actually of chaos going around in the world, and a lot of things that could leave a person feeling very unhappy, unhinged, uncomfortable. And yet when we can step back to our faith and realize that that's the foundation of what we're doing, then everything else becomes the unreal, because the faith is really truly what's the real. So anyway, just as you were talking, I that verse came to my mind, and I was thinking of that, so I thought I'd share it with you.
That actually is beautiful. You know, I'd give you another word.
Yeah.
Jesus says to Philip. Philip is asking Jesus a question, "Show us your Father. We want to see him." See, for that, Jesus answers, "Haven't you seen me? I tell you the truth. I see what my Father is doing, and that's what I do. If you have seen me, you have seen the Father." That is theistic activism of Jesus. See, he sees exactly what his Father is doing. You see, and we kind of think that, all right, that vision or that encounter of what Father is doing, it is just happening way out there, and Jesus has a direct connectivity to it. That's not true. The truth is, see, it is happening in the soul of Jesus, which is the image and likeness of his Father. So all he does is, he just looks at his soul. He observes his soul, and the soul reveals to him what the Father is doing. And that's what he is manifesting in his actions, in his words, in his thoughts, and everything. It's coming from his soul. You see, I mean, we think that, okay, Jesus was God, that is why he was not able to do it. We cannot. That is not true at all. That is not true at all. If we believe Jesus came and lived among us so that we could imitate Jesus and live just the way he lived, then it goes beyond that, isn't it? He lived among us as a human being. See, so what he is describing, that he was able to do as a human being, not as God. So you can see me as God when I can do that. That is theistic activism.
Absolutely.
See, you know, God created us in his image and likeness. So the concept of having God inside us, our soul being the image and likeness of God, it is very consistent with the teachings in Christianity. Very consistent. See, whereas now we have learned to live with ourselves as a body, which is really not an image and likeness of God. The body is perishable. God is imperishable. God is the unmanifest. You see, he lives forever. And we cannot compare that to our body and our sensory experiences and all of that. It is much more of a transcended experience than a sensory experience. Okay, that's really what it is. And it is something all of us can learn, especially if we are inspired to think that we have a calling to do something great with our lives, something impactful with our lives. And I mean, it's one such calling. It will pester you all your life. It's not going to leave you alone. You know? You can relate to that. Yeah, so you cannot escape. You cannot escape that feeling. And if anybody who has that kind of a feeling, I am perfectly willing to help them. That is my calling in life, is to help people, and enable them and empower them to get involved in theistic activism. So anything and everything they create will have passion in it, will have life in it, will have longevity. We have everything that have eternity built into it. Everything they do, everything they endeavor, everything they output. That is the beauty of it. That is the essence of true spirituality. See, from the time of Adam, we were created to produce. We were created to endeavor. And we were created to create along with God. That was our mission in life from the beginning. You see, but we are too preoccupied with our sensory beings, not our soul. When we go deep into our soul and relate to soul and witness who we are as the image and likeness of God, spirituality has a whole different meaning. Whole new meaning, whole different meaning. You see? And it is very consistent with the Bible. It is not something, okay, the Bhagavad Gita has it, or the Veda has it, or the Buddhist scriptures has it. No, Bible is full of it. Yeah, they also have it, but the clarity and the wisdom and the life in God in our lifetime is more emphasized in the gospel than any other scriptures.
Well, I'm really excited about your book coming out. Everybody's got to be ready and looking forward to Divine Engagement by Anthony Nayagan. Anthony, thanks so much for spending some time with us here on the show today.
So much. Thank you so much. God bless you, and God bless all of you who are listening to this. Thank you.